MiniWarGaming's Warmachine League Battle Reports.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Warmachine League video. This is game number 9, and it is between Jordan.
I don't know. Maybe you should talk.
Jordan and Nick. Now this game was supposed to happen as game 8. Jordan no-showed.
Yeah, I was late. Disappointing.
So Owen stepped in and you all saw what happened. Now if you didn't see what happened, it means you should get a Vault membership. Check it out, 7-day trial. Link in the description below. Woo. So today, it's gonna be 35 points of your?
Cygnar.
The green Cygnar, right?
Yep.
I like the green Cygnar. They're anti-blue. I like that though.
Exactly.
I have blue Cygnar, it's cool. And your?
Legion.
Surprise. Actually, by this point, they might have already seen your Cygnar. No, not your Cygnar, your Legion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on bad reps before.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And what scenario are we playing today? Ammunition run?
Run.
That's cool. That's actually one of my favorite scenarios. It's just a lot of fun. So yeah, without further ado, we'll get to the armies and the deployment.
All right, so we'll start off with 35 points of green Cygnar. They look awesome. So it's led by PHaley, and she has a squire attached to her. Next, a journeyman warcaster, Rupert, Anna and Holt. So he's running a few mercenaries in this list. These two are pretty fun on the battlefield. They'll be able to shoot a couple guys, especially when combined with PHaley's feet. They can be pretty nasty. And I really like the way that Jordan painted them, especially with the eyes. And behind them, a full squad of 5 Storm Lances and a Storm Strider. They're always fun. And finally, Old Rowdy, and that is 35 points of green Cygnar. So now it's time for 35 points of Legion of Everblight. They also look pretty awesome, and there's a lot more models in this army than in the opposing. So leading the army is EVayl, Consul of Everblight. Vayl is pretty cool, and her feat is basically get to cast all the spells at the same time. There's a full unit of Legionnaires, a Harrier, a Ravagore, 2 Angeliuses. There's a Sorceress and Hellion. That's a spawning vessel. Basically, they collect corpse tokens, and for every 3 corpse tokens, you can bring a war beast to life. They're pretty fun as well. And finally, a Shepherd, who can add or remove Fury from war beasts. Pretty cool stuff. And that is 35 points of Legion of Everblight. So they roll off, and the Legion player decided to go first because they rolled higher. So as you can see, at the end of deployment, a couple of them have advanced deploy, but basically they all lined up, one straight shot to go for the middle zone, because that is what's scoring points. And on the other end, the Cygnar have done the same thing. They're all going right for the middle zone, fast units in front, and pretty standard stuff. Turn 1 of Warmachine is basically just maneuvering and getting to the zone to prevent your opponent from scoring it very early in the game. But then from then on, the bodies tend to hit the floor pretty quickly, because then you start to attack really hard and you pop feet, typically in turn 2+. So now it's Legion of Everblight, turn 1. So the Legionnaires activate first, and they run 10 inches up. So already they're pretty much crossing the battlefield very quickly. He's almost in that red zone. Next, EVayl activates and casts Refuge on one Angelius, which basically gives the Angelius an extra movement at the end of its melee activation. And then we'll eventually also cast Admonition on the other Angelius, which allows basically if you move towards it, it can move away from it, away from you at the same time. And casts Oculation on itself. and then decides to charge at the guy in the middle just so I can move up a full distance, just shy of the red box as well. That's because you can't run and cast spells, so you have to charge after casting spells. And next, the Harrier activates. And as I said, right now, his goal is just move up the battlefield, get in a really good striking position. So then he decides to run his Harrier, which flies all the way over there towards both the objectives. And then activates the dreaded spawning vessel. And as you see, this thing will be fun in the game because every time it collects a corpse token, if you kill a model around it, it collects a corpse token. And after every 3, it can spawn a tiny war beast with wings, and it's pretty fun to see them bounce around the field. And next, he activates his Ravagore. And his Ravagore just runs straight for the objective. As I said, the goal is to get across the field. And he didn't rile him because he can add Fury later if he wants with his Shepherd. And now he activates the first Angelius. And once again, these things are very fast, so they can cross the field very quickly, as you can see. Look how fast it can run, and boom, it's in the zone already. And it's now going to score that if the opponent doesn't get into it by the end of turn 2. So, activates again. And then he activates his Sorceress and Hellion and casts Wind Ravager. And now it's Cygnar, turn 1. So he begins by activating his Storm Lances, just running him up the field towards the red zone. Again, he wants to just prevent his opponent from scoring it and just get in a good position for striking for next turn. And these Storm Lances are fast and they hit very hard in close combat. And now he moves up his Storm Strider and just moves up and does the same thing. Next, he activates his caster, PHaley, and casts Arcane Shield on the Storm Strider. Or sorry, the Storm Lances. And then casts Temporal Barrier. So it gives it a buff defense and no running or charging. Next activates the solo Journeyman Warcaster, who also activates and casts Arcane Shield on the Storm Strider. So now the Storm Strider and the Storm Lances both have Arcane Shield. Then he just moves Rowdy towards the zone, and then moves up Rupert. And he gives +1 defense and terror to the Storm Lances with his special power for Rupert. And finally activates Ayanna and Holt, where they're just going to hide behind the Storm Strider and then line up for a good shot for next turn. So here's what the board looks like after 1 turn. As I mentioned before, it's just a lot of movement turn 1 and just preparing yourself for the strike. Not a lot of action typically. You'll occasionally see the first round assassination run, but typically it's just movement and preparing for turn 2. And now it is Legion of Everblight, turn 2. So he decides to drop Oculation, but keeps Refuge and Admonition. The Closer Angelius activates first and tries to shoot at the middle Storm Strider. Misses in the first one. And then the other one activates and just moves back into the zone, and then also wants to shoot at a Storm Strider. A Storm Lance. So he needs 8s to hit. Hits. And he boosts damage. So dice -8. And he does nothing by rolling exactly an 8. So next he activates his Ravagore, who then casts Dragonfire. Boost to hit on one of the Storm Lances. And hits. So it sets them all ablaze. And then boosts to wound. It's dice -5. So it does 8 damage. So it forces a tough roll. Oh, sorry. Just it kills the first one. And then he tries to attack the second one. Needs 12s to hit. And it ends up hurting him. So now it casts a circle, which basically it causes a damage, 1 box of damage if you land inside it, or finish your movement inside of it. And then next he activates his full squad of Legionnaires, who are again just going to charge up and guard that objective to make sure that they don't get to it. 1 straight line. And then activates his Spawning Vessel. It's slow but purposefully moving across the battlefield. It's going to hopefully just collect some corpse tokens and spawn those war beasts, which are a real big pesky thing, especially in small games like 35 points. And finally, EVayl goes. Moves up. But remains to hide behind the wall. And casts Oculation on the Sorceress on the Hellion. And finally just moves up his Shepherd and drops the Fury down to 1. So that's what this board looks like. The score is still 0-0, and it's now Cygnar, turn 2. Now it's time to hopefully cause some blood. So he rolls to see if the fires get extinguished on any of the Stormlances, and they do not. They still remain in play. Next he rolls to see if they do any damage. First one doesn't, and second one doesn't either. They're both dice -8, so not really expecting a lot of damage there for the fire. I believe PHaley upkept her spells. She did take another one from the Squire. And then PHaley declares that she's going to pop feet, so everyone gets an extra shooting attack. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then she casts Deadeye on the Stormstrider. So then she just moves away from them, just keep herself guarded near the terrain, and hopefully she doesn't get attacked next turn by the Legion guys who are very close to her, which you'll see how fast they can just travel across the field. So now the Stormstrider will fire his Deadeye shot at the closer Angelius. Needs 6s to hit, and gets a hit. He then rolls to see how many consecutive arcings he gets. It's D3, and the answer is 3. Or I think he did 6. I don't know if I heard. I thought it was supposed to be D3, but maybe it's D6. And he rolls to see if they kill. Doesn't kill. It kills the first one. Doesn't kill the second one. Doesn't kill the third one. Doesn't do any damage to the fourth one. Or the fifth one. And finally the sixth one, nothing as well. So it didn't matter there. And then it's dice -2 for damage on the war beast that he shot at. And he does 2 to 2. So second shot at the same one. Once again, needing 6s to hit. And he hits again. And once again, it arcs to 3 of them. But this time it arcs to the spawning vessel guys. And it does 3 boxes of damage to them. And kills one. And they get corpse tokens for them. And then it does 7 to 6 on the Angelius. And then next, 6 to hit again. One more shot, but misses his final one. So then once again, Holt and Iana move up. Iana. And they decide to shoot at the closest Legionnaire. Hits and kills him. Second shot. Also hits. And kills another one. So 2 Legionnaires are dead. So then Rupert advances up. And he decides to use Tough. And finally the Journeyman moves up. Activates. Of course can't shoot anything because it's slightly out of range. So next he decides to activate his Storm Lances. So they're going to charge up the field and just engage and hopefully do some serious damage to the Legion's War Beasts. That's his goal right now. Just do as much damage during this feat turn as possible and weaken the Legion player as much as possible. Kill those Legionnaires and perhaps kill a War Beast or 2 during this turn. So first, because they're cavalry, they get their impact attacks. 6s to hit. And they hit, but they don't do any damage. And then he just moves up his other Stormlance as well, just so that he can be able to hit the War Beast, the Angelius, without the Angelius being able to hit him back. Just keep him at the as farthest away as possible, which is the reach distance. And he just keeps moving up his Stormlances, as I said, to engage the other Angelius. However, because the Angelius has the power, it gets to move away from the Stormlances when it moved at him. So once again, impact attacks. First one misses. They both need 5s to hit. And second one hits. And it's dice -6 for damage. And does 6, so no damage there. And then once again, another impact attack hits. And then he does 10 damage to 5. So this is actually on the Angelius itself, not the impact. It's the first boosted attack. And he does this other one on the other Angelius. And nothing. And repeats this process again. Due to the feet turn, he gets extra attacks, so he's just going to keep hitting that Angelius. And he does another 8 damage to the 2 of the Angelius, so he's slowly wearing it down. He's not killing it yet, but he has done some serious damage to this Angelius. Then he does another attack. Doesn't hit. Another attack. And he kills a Legionnaire. And there's an Electro Leap to this. And it does Electro Leap and kill the closest guy as well. The next Stormlance attack needs a 7 to hit. And he hits. And he does 1 damage to the 2 of the Angelius. And then it arcs. And does 5 damage as well. Does another attack. Hits. And then the next one, 5's to hit. Hits as well. And then kills another one. And then Electro Leaps again. Dice minus 6 damage to the Electro Leaper. And doesn't do any damage. So here's what the board looks like after 2 turns. As you can see, some damage has been dealt on both sides. Nothing yet, so that's crazy or critical. But they're both in the zone, so the score is still 0-0. And now it is Legion of Everblight, turn 3. So he upkeeps Refuge and lets the other ones drop. The Harrier casts his own Animus on itself, which allows it to auto-hit. And then tries to charge PHaley. 10 inches, but ends up being just shy of actual range to hurt PHaley. So first they just measure to see how far it can actually charge and how close it can get. And because it's flying, it's not obstructed by the terrain. So it almost gets there, but not enough to actually... So it is just slightly short from PHaley. I think Rowdy gets to make an advance because the Beast finished close to him, but he missed his attacks. And then next, the Legionnaires move up. They get their attacks in. They hit. And they do 2 damage to the first lance. And then again, another attack. 6 to hit. And hit again. Dice minus 10 again. And they actually do another damage. They're actually swinging really well for these damage things. And then they just keep swinging away. And they decide to do a combined melee, but don't do any damage. Next, he activates his Ravagore and casts his Animus Dragon's Fire again. And so he shoots his AoE again and shoots a 14 inches. Needs 10 to hit, misses, so it will deviate. He rolls the deviation and it goes 4 inches to the 4 and ends up hitting the Storm Strider, which, because it hits him, gives him a focus and it lands on him. And then tries to do damage. Dice minus 13, so no damage there. And now the Strider is on fire. Next, he moves up his spawning vessel. So far, they've got a couple corpse tokens, but they need some more. And it actually, because they had the 3, they spawned their War Beast, the Shredder. And now the Shredder is going to run on the battlefield and cause mischief. So he activates the Shredder next. So now they will face the Shredder. And it goes right for those Storm Lances. Tries to get hit. 7's hit. Does hit because they boosted it. But no damage. So it buys another attack. Hits again. And does some actual damage to the Storm Lance. Nice. So he's slowly chipping away at the Storm Lances. And then the Angelius will heal. Next he activates his Veil and casts Oculation again on herself. He activates his Angelius next, who then attacks the Stormblades, and he does some serious damage to them. He boosts damage, but it's dice minus 2, so right now it won't take a lot to kill these Stormblades. So dice plus 2, which forces a tough roll, but he passes it. So now once again, 6 again to hit. Tough roll. And he fails, so he's dead. Next one, auto hits. Dice minus 6. Sorry, he rolled to hit. Dice minus 6. No damage on the second one. And because he still has a spell on him, he can do a full move after his attacks. And then he charges with the other Angelius. Right at his Stormblade. Trying to repeat this process. Needs 6s to hit. He boosts to hit. So he gives another Fury to his Warbeast. And once again he hits. It's dice plus 2. So he overkills that Stormblade, forces a tough roll. And he passes tough roll, but he's knocked down. So the next attack auto hits. Once again, dice plus 2. Sorry, dice minus 6. And it's 1 damage, so force another tough roll. And he fails it. So another Stormblade is dead. Stormlance is dead. Does another attack, 6 to hit. Hits, dice minus 6. And rolls a 9. So 1 box left of that Stormlance. The Stormlances are taking a lot of hits this turn. And next move up is Sorcerer. And takes a Fury. And then casts Wind Ravager again on his Sorceress on the Hellion. So after the top of turn 3, the score is still 0-0 because they're all in the zone and everything is good. And now it's Cygnar turn 3. So he takes another Squire's points to give him an extra focus to PHaley. The fire gets extinguished. And then he activates Old Rowdy, who swings at the Harrier and hits. And does 14 amount of damage, which instantly kills that Harrier. Goodbye. So it's gone. Next, activated Stormstrider, who decides to go, I believe, for the Ravagore. So it moves up. And decides not to attack fully, just to stay there. And shoots the Ravagore. Need 3s to hit. So it hits. And it arcs twice. So it goes to 2, it goes to Shepherd. And does 4 damage to the Shepherd and kills it due to the damage. And then it arcs to a one of the spawning vessel guys. And kills another one of those 2. So it gives them some more of those evil corpse tokens. And now the damage on the Ravagore itself. So it does 7 to his 5. So it is chipping away at him, but not doing serious damage to him yet. So another shot at him. Hits again. It only arcs to 1, which is the Legionnaires. And kills the Legionnaire. And then does 4 damage to 5. So once again, he's picking on that 5. So next he moves up Holt and Iana. They're now going to hide behind the Stormstrider and just get a couple good pot shots. And next they do that Kiss from Iana, which increases damage rolls against the Ravagore, and it hits. So then next, Holt fires his gun, and it's dice minus 4. And so he does 2 damage to his 4, not enough to kill him. Then shoots again, 3s to hit. Hits again, and it's dice minus 4 again, and he does 3 to 4. So still not enough to kill him. Next he activates Rupert, and he toughs again. He toughs the Stormlances to give him tough again. Finally activates his Journeyman Warcaster, who then shoots the Ravagore, boost to hit, and it hits. And it's dice minus 4. And does 6 damage. So still, the Ravagore is barely alive still. Activates the Stormlances. And because he casts Stormlances, the Angelius gets to move away again. So now he's focusing his attacks on the Shredder right in front of him. He needs 6s to hit. And he hits. Dice plus 1. So he does actually some serious damage. He does 9 to his 3. And that alone does a lot of damage to that Shredder, because Shredder doesn't have many boxes. So now it arcs to the Angelius, dice minus 7, and does 2 to 6 from the arcing. Then he does another attack, 5s to hit. It arcs, it instant kills him, and will arc to the next guy. This is the attacks on his Legionnaires. It's dice -4. He does enough to kill the other Legionnaire. That's good. So he was able to kill some Legionnaires and do a lot of damage to Shredder. Activates PHaley next to move him around. And I believe she takes the Arcane Shield and recasts it on Rowdy. And then the Squire just moves up, and that's what the battlefield looks like after 3 turns. Score is still 0-0, and there have been a lot of heavy casualties on both sides. Right now, the Legion player is starting to kind of overtake the Cygnar player, because they can now spawn another War Beast, and it still has most of his big War Beast alive. So we'll see what happens, though. But right now, the Cygnar player's got to keep going up and just kill as much as he can, because the Legion player is taking over the board. So now it's Legion of Everblight, turn 4. So it is a Frenzy check for the Shredder. He needs and it frenzies. So it runs up and only gets 1 attack, charges the closest thing, and gets his attack. It's boosted. 7's to hit. It hits. But doesn't do any damage. So then he does his frenzy check on the next one. Passes. Frenzy check on the next one. And passes. So he passes 2 out of 3 frenzy checks. The next he activated his caster again and cast Oculation. And then he continues his attack. So he starts on the Stormblades, but keeps missing. Activates his spawning vessel again and spawns another Shredder, who then activates and hits. It's a target and does 4 boxes of damage to the Stormlands. That Shredder is doing awesome. Forces a tough roll. Tough roll is passed. Then Shredder buys another attack. So once again, it's dice -7. And forces another tough roll, and he passes a second tough roll. So that's pretty awesome. So next, the Angelus activates to kill those Stormlances. Starts doing attacks. Misses the first one, buys another one, and does damage. Forces another tough roll. Fails tough roll. Stormlance is dead. And then buys another attack. Hits. So it's dice -3 on the damage. There's a lot of damage on this. And does 6 amounts, so it forces another tough roll. Fails tough roll. And the final Stormlance is killed. That frees up a lot of the board for the Legion of Everblight player. So now she's going to cast a spell by shooting Ravagore in his back. And he actually misses by rolling Snake Eyes. He was going to cast a cool spell. And then there's another attack on him. The Ravagore, I believe, itself. And it hits. But it's dice -10, so it's not really going to hurt the Ravagore. And doesn't do any damage. Then next, EVayl pops feet. So it gets all her spells at the same time for free. And she just balances the spells amongst everyone. As you can see. Right now the goal is just do as much damage and destroy the Cygnar player in this turn. So they start shooting at the Stormstrider. Through a spell through the Arc Node. Hits. It's dice -6. So he boosts. Doesn't do any damage. So cast another spell through the Arc Node against the Stormstrider. Needs a 7 to hit. And misses. And then deviates 6 to 5. Ends up landing on Rupert. And does 2 damage to Rupert. The Ravagore next activates. Uses Animus. Shooting PHaley. So he needs 11 to hit. He boosts and he hits. So lands right on PHaley. So it sets PHaley on fire. Plus it does damage. Dice -3. So he rolls. And he does 11 damage to PHaley in that one attack, leaving her only a few boxes left. So that one, and now she's on fire. That might be the key to the game right there. Next, activates the Angelus. Tries to shoot at PHaley. Needs 11 to hit. And hits. Boost to wound. Needs a 10 to kill because it's dice -6. But only rolls a 7. So only 1 damage to PHaley, and she has 3 left. Next, activates the Sorcerers on the Hellion. Casts a spell, but PHaley has a thing where she can spend a focus to remove the spell instantly. So now, after 4 turns, the score is still 0-0 because the zone is being contested by Rupert. But PHaley is on fire, and we'll see what happens in Cygnar turn 4. So right now is the critical roll of the game. Does the fire go out on PHaley? He rolls, and it doesn't. So we roll to see how much damage. Needs a 5 to kill, and they roll a 7. So PHaley is killed. It is a hearty handshake. PHaley is dead, and I get to take her and not give her back. And here's what the battlefield looked like at the end of the game. So it was a great game, and it is a Legion of Everblight victory. So thank you very much for watching this battle report, and if you'd like to see more Warmachine League battle reports, click on the link below for a free 7-day trial membership to the MiniWarGaming Vault. Not only will you get to see this battle report, but you'll have access to a lot more awesome Warmachine and other wargaming battle reports, as well as many excellent wargaming videos. So until next time, this is Jay saying, happy wargaming, everyone.